Is there anyone here tonight that would like to speak to the council?
I want to speak, but it's on an item on the agenda.
Okay, so we can speak during that time.
Okay.
Okay. Any other items that are not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will move on to old business. So this is an item that we discussed at the last couple of meetings. This is for discussion and approval of resolution number 22-11-04 to amend the personnel manual. We have had a couple of work sessions on this. We've narrowed it down, and this past week, our city administrator, human resources, as well as our legal team has reviewed this. So I'll pass it over to Margaret.
Margaret,
you,
can I
Mayor.
say something real quick?
Yes, you sure can.
I would like to add that after the council, who's given us all of the tools that we requested this year to work on what we called external equity and being able to compete with other cities, and it's gotten us a lot of good results. We've been able to retain people. It's helped us with morale. And I wanted to say thank you very much. This is part of our attempt to make the internal equity people's idea of fairness amongst the rest of the employees, and I wanted to say thank you very much.
Okay.
Bless you.
God bless you. So good evening, council and mayor. And just like what the mayor said, this is a final discussion, hopefully, with the intent to move forward with the approval of the resolution accepting the changes to the current personnel manual. As Rob said, the city has gone through a lot of significant changes, and we need to have those changes. And also in the workforce, there's been changes that have been affected through state law and federal law. And so our manual was in need of changes since the pandemic. And so just like he said, we've had a couple of work sessions, and we believe the manual is now ready for approval by council. So I think you all have the latest copy that Lance, our attorney, has reviewed, making some suggestions. Even now, there's still changes that were made, and I think it's going to be, I think they're all really good changes. And just like Rob said, it's going to make us more competitive in the workforce and retaining and keeping our employees here, and also attracting new employees. So we're recommending that the changes be approved, with the most significant changes being in the following sections. Section 1, which is personal days. We are recommending that employees be given 2 additional days of paid leave each year as personal days. These personal days may be used at a time of the employee's choosing, subject to the business needs of the city and the approval of the supervisor. All personal days credited and unused by December 31st of the calendar year will be forfeited. At one time, we were thinking of adding 2 holidays, and we just decided that instead of adding 2 additional holidays, we would just go ahead and add the personal days and let the employee have the choice, have their own discretion of choosing when they want to take that time off. So we called it personal days. Section 3, we are proposing that it now be called vacation leave as opposed to annual leave. There was a lot of verbiage in there in the old manual that would go back and forth between vacation and personal day, and so I think we're all in agreement that we want to call it vacation leave. The recommendation is to move from the current system of granting paid leave at the beginning of the year to an accrual system in which employees earn their vacation time. And there's a chart on page, I think I have it, on the newer copy. I don't think those have page numbers, but on the copy that was attached in your packet, I believe it was on page 4. Yep. And that gives a breakdown of how employees will accrue leave based on the number of years that they've been in service with the city of Lamar. That was one of the things that I heard coming to Lamar when I came to Lamar in 2019, is just how we were earning, how that vacation leave was being handled. And I think employees, I don't know, there's just been so much discussion and different ways of doing it. So I think this is the best way. And we've got input from the directors as well, as far as the vacation leave. Section 3 talks about carryover of unused vacation leave. So employees will be allowed to carry over accrued unused vacation time on December 31st of each year only for the purpose of using the time during the following January to March year before they lose it. So there would be no banking of these vacation carryover hours, and no carryover hours will not be paid out if they terminate. And we also are requesting that council approve employees to carry over any unused granted, because we're still in this granted system for 2022, that we're asking that they be allowed to carry that granted vacation time from 2022 since the current personnel policy does not have this provision. So am I saying that right, Rob? Just that it's.
Yes, we'll allow them, if they have leftover hours this year, to be used next year instead of starting this whole accrual system from zero. If they have some still on the books, they can use it in 2023.
Right,
Up until March.
Up until the end of
until
March.
March.
So we're starting this retroactive for this past, whatever's carried over.
For the leave left over, yes.
Just for the time that's in
Now, what about
2022.
2024, when they have something left over in 23? Can they move that over?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Well, it's carryover until March 31st, and then it's forfeited at that point.
Yeah.
But they would have accrued sometime from January till March at that point anyways.
So, yes, they'll have accrued leave on December 31st of '23, and that then becomes carryover for '24, and so it'll keep going from that way.
It'll go from year to year to year.
it's just because it's not in the current personnel policy right now, so we have to ask you all to grant that. And then Section 3, vacation pay at termination. Upon termination, eligible employees will be paid for any time accrued during the current year only. Carryover of annual leave not used during the first 3 months, as indicated, will not be paid out. On Section 4, paid sick leave, employees will continue to be granted, and that's where it's different, where the vacation will be accrued, sick leave will be granted at the beginning of the year in the form of hours at the beginning of the year. And there's a chart in Chapter 3. Well, see the chart. So they will accrue, there will be no carryover of sick leave from one year to the next. So employees who work 80 hours for the year will be granted 80 hours each year beginning 2023.
Hey, Margaret, sorry to interrupt, but this is one of those changes that we have.
This is one of those
Yeah.
changes that I
Yeah.
didn't catch.
Employees who are scheduled to work 28 hours. So you don't have to already have worked 80 hours to start getting your.
Exactly, right.
Where's the chart at, please?
On page 4, it's on the back, or no,
It's
that's
the bullet points.
Three bullet
It's a
points.
3 bullet points, it's not a
Section
chart.
4, 3 bullet points.
It's 3 bullet points. So.
Right there.
Right here? Yes.
Okay, so where was I? Employees who work
scheduled to work
who are
28.
scheduled to work 80 hours will be granted 80 hours. Same for the ones who are scheduled to work 84 hours, which would be our police officers. They'll be granted 84 hours each year beginning 2023. And our employees, which are our fire, who work 57, they'll be granted 100 hours each year beginning 2023. Okay. Section 4 talks about the family program, which is the insurance.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Not So-
about Section 4?
4, yes, ma'am.
Yes,
So the 80 hours of sick leave that they receive on January 1st, that's granted to them, can they use those hours of sick leave as vacation? Can they schedule it ahead of time? Or does it have to be a certain situation where they have to just say, oh, I'm sick, and then have to come with a doctor's note if they,
No, there are some things you can schedule ahead of time. You know you're going to get a crown fixed, you know that kind of thing. But if you're sick, the rule is we don't or cannot require a doctor's note until 4 days consecutive, correct? So
Consecutive days.
we have to take them basically on their honor or their word that 4 consecutive days. Up until that point, we can't ask them for a doctor's note. Now, they do have a requirement to tell their supervisor as soon as possible, unless they're, in the hospital, they have to contact their supervisor to let them know.
And that's always been the case.
Always been the case.
Okay, so section 4, we added a section about the family program, which is information about the state-run paid program. And we informed all of our employees back in, let's see where,
June 27th of 2022,
thank you, Mayor,
we
yes.
declined to participate
We
in the Family
declined,
Act.
yes, we declined participation in the family. That does not mean that employees are not, the employees can still choose to get this family insurance on their own. It just means that the city won't be participating as far as collecting benefits and paying those benefits to the state. But it is an insurance that will go into effect in 2024. Okay? So we had to let our employees know that. And then section 5 on the job injury leave reporting, that was a change that came late this year, that now employees, it changes the requirements from reporting the accident from 24 hours to 10 days. So employees now have up to 10 days to report an on-the-job injury leave.
I have a question on that. Why,
Why is the change?
yeah, why the change? Because I know my company says, okay.
24 hours.
You inform ASAP of an accident.
I asked CIRSA about that, and I just think it's just the way that they've just got a lot of lobbying at the state level, and it's more in favor of the employee. So,
Municipal thing versus corporate thing, maybe, or, okay.
And then section 7, just updating the definition of immediate family under the definitions and acronyms. That's just more of an expansion. There were some family members that were not included, and we're just updating that. And then section 9, adding a section regarding Senate Bill 20-205 and House Bill 20-1415 on the Healthy Family and Workplaces Act, paid leave rights. And that is where Rob was talking about that. Now employees have up to 4 days to notify us. They do not have to provide any sort of medical documentation up to 4 days. It used to be 3 days, and now they have up to 4 days. But then that Healthy Family and Workplaces Act also covers things like the pandemic, the public health emergency that we're currently under. It also includes domestic violence. There's quite a bit that it covers. How employees that are part-time employees that don't earn, that need paid leave off, and this is sick leave, how we calculate those hours. So the big thing is employees earn 1 hour of paid leave per 30 hours, so our part-time, that's how Kristen's office calculates the time for our part-time employees. They can earn up to 48 hours a year.
But that's all based upon the Senate bill.
Yes, that's all
requirements,
based
so that's
upon it's not,
Not
we
something that
have,
we've done. This is
Exactly.
something that is just the requirement we need to
you're
add in.
absolutely right, Mayor.
Okay.
That's all law right there.
Okay, all right. So, Rob, I know you and Lance and Kristen have been working on this today and over the last week. Did you want to add anything to that, or?
Well, I just realized there's going to be that family, I think I need to move that paragraph down below because it may be a little confusing on how you use your regular sick leave, and then the family is a different program. I think we'll put that below, if you guys don't mind. So we'll move that afterwards. We won't change anything, just move it afterwards. It starts talking about family, and then it goes back to how we're going to use sick leave. Also, I guess the donating of leave, in the past, we've only allowed them to donate sick leave. Now, is that correct? We didn't donate regular vacation or
Only
anything like
just
that, just
sick.
sick leave?
Right.
Okay.
Because they can use it for sick purposes. Yeah, so it's only been sick. And this reads vacation
Yeah.
remain.
We added all the leaves
It needs to be
together.
just
So I'd like to
sick.
move it back to that if
What
possible.
paragraph is that, where?
Section 6, donated leave.
Section 6, donated leave, okay.
And you want it to read now?
Just like the way it used to, just donating sick leave. If they can donate, people, or all employees can donate their sick leave to somebody, but donating vacation time for sick leave may cause a problem with, accounting on, I donate a leave and somebody else uses it as a different rate, we may have a little bit of difference in numbers. So I think that just keep it sick leave.
Because vacation has a value to it. Sick leave is sick leave, no matter the hourly wage.
And I think the thing we had discussed on that note, and I'm not sure if you're all aware of that, but we started paying a benefit, how many years ago? Was that 4, maybe?
What was that?
For the short-term and long-term disability. The city agreed to pay that benefit for employees. So it fills the gap. If somebody's going to be gone for a long period of time, they don't have to use all of their own time. They can apply for short-term disability for 90 days after a 14-day waiting period. And then they can apply, if it's going to be a longer period than that, they can do long-term disability. And those both pay 60% of their salary, so they don't have to use all of that sick or donated to cover, to have their paychecks. So I didn't know if you guys were aware of that. So that does help in extended illnesses or injuries, that they have that option, and that's a city-paid benefit to the employees. It doesn't cost anything to be signed up for that and be able to utilize that program. So that's another benefit that we offer our employees to help them in major, things that happen to them, if it's not workers' comp related.
And
Am I
unlike,
correct?
Yes, you're correct.
unlike family leave, where they have to sign up their own now, and it's additional insurance, this is something that the city pays.
Just an additional benefit
And I
already.
didn't know if you guys knew that, because,
Yeah.
it's just one more added layer that we hope if somebody has it.
Okay. Lance, did you want to add anything on that, or?
No, I mean, I think largely it was just trying to make as clear as possible what is trying to be done here, and trying to assure in each one of these sections where it's forfeited, where it's not, clarifying where we could that banked time is not allowed, that it's not permitted any longer, and it hasn't been since 2018. Those who have banked time don't lose it, but it's not, there's no mechanism for banking it going forward. The other pieces, I think, were just clarifying, as Margaret mentioned, from annual leave to vacation leave, and making sure that was, because I think it was somewhat confusing when you're reading through it. Are you referring to annual leave as inclusively of all of these leave options, or is it just for vacation? And so I think trying to clarify that was important. Otherwise, like I said, I think a lot of the language that was added was just simply trying to make it as clear as possible, so all the employees who receive it are on notice on those specific terms for which they're going to be responsible and fully understand those terms.
So other than the 2 changes that Rob is suggesting, which was one, changing it to sick leave only for donations, and the other one was just moving the paragraph location.
And changing that, those 3 paragraphs.
Scheduled to work 2080 versus worked 2080.
Yeah, so it's just that language, which I was confused with that because I didn't understand how an employee who would have just started, how would you determine what their vacation time or what their sick leave should be based on that? But whenever you say it as a scheduled 20 to 80 work time frame or schedule, that makes more sense. So I just think making that change is important.
I would like to add that we did a fairly long search and discussion and let it bubble up through the ranks. And in general, this was what was wanted. This was started from suggestions, and this is what was wanted, and this is what, but it was not unanimous. There were people, and you guys know that nobody's going to be making 100% of the people 100% of the happy all the time. And after they brought their concerns up through their chain of command, up to me, I still would like to let somebody say their piece, and if they did not, want these changes, I said I would not be against somebody coming up here and making their voice known to you guys.
And that's what you were wanting to speak on tonight? Okay. All right, so did you have anything else to add before so we'd like to thank you, Margaret.
Okay.
And we'll invite you to come up and let us hear your comments before we get a motion. Could you state your name and department or?
Yep. Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and most importantly, citizens of Lamar. Thank you, Administrator Evans, for allowing me to come before council to voice my opinion tonight. I appreciate that. My name is Tressa Holbert. I am employed with the city in the Water and Wastewater Department. I'm also a sixth-generation Prowers County resident. Late last week, I found out that there were proposed changes to the employee handbook that would be effective January 1st, 2023. This hasn't allowed me much time to digest all the changes. However, the change from granted vacation to accrued vacation struck me as being out of line with the direction the city and its citizens want for its employees. Recently, in a social media post, the city of Lamar congratulated employees on service from 5 to 40 years. The city called the employees, to paraphrase, our greatest asset, and we're delighted with their many years of reliable service. In my opinion, I don't think making our employees earn their vacation time on an annual accrued basis expresses that gratitude. Vacation time is one of the most important benefits. Knowing they have those vacation days allows our employees to take the time off they need when they need it. The reasons for those days are as varied as the number of employees we have. And if you would like examples, I'd be happy to provide them. Accrued time without the ability to bank it limits the employee's options. Changes to vacation time affect the quality of employees' lives. Administrator Evans has informed me that he will work with our employees over the next year so that no one misses out on time off they may have wanted or needed. Thank you. I am aware changes to the handbook were needed, and I applaud the city administrator and staff for tackling them. Ultimately, I feel these changes could still be made, and we could keep the granted vacation time instead of changing to an accrual basis, and continue to express our gratitude for our employee service. Thank you for your service
Thank you.
and your time.
Thank you.
Were there any other employees that would like to speak on this topic to the council before we move on? I'd like to open it up for any employees to come up and speak on it. Seeing none, I'll open it for the discussion on the council. Did you, council, have any questions for Rob or Margaret or Lance?
On the organizational chart, is that going to be part of the handbook?
Yes.
Do we have a copy of that? Because it says that there's
We'll also
current revised chart.
Budget.
Yeah, it's in our budget as well.
I have a new one in the budget as well, but we can try.
Yep, I can definitely get you a copy of all of
So
them.
we've already seen it, so there's no additional changes to what we've already seen?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, when they
Not-
did they created it when they created the budget for that time period, so for the 2023, correct?
That's correct.
There were no changes since then?
Not since then. That included all of the stuff that you guys approved from the salary study and the additional positions.
Employees and stuff like that. Okay. Any other questions from the council?
I have something I'd like to speak on, please.
Okay.
You know me, I like to do a lot of research. So I called 2 other municipalities and asked what their, how they done their vacation time. And both of those were also accrued. So I figured, okay, we're following along with exactly how their plans are. In both cases, though, the one thing that they did say was that they had a minimalistic amount of carryover. So that you could carry over like a certain percentage of what you had earned that year.
Not all of it, just a
Every year.
percentage.
Right.
Right.
And they said that that stopped a lot of issues that they figured they would have with people that used their vacation up or didn't use all their vacation, and then the next year they were gonna plan a trip in the beginning of the year and not wait until, let's say if it was in April or May or something like that. Cause if you figure, what I figured was a person that's on the 80 hours of vacation time, they're merely gonna have like 3 days by the time you get to May. Accrued is all. So if they were allowed to carry over, let's say if they were on 80 hours of vacation time and they were allowed to carry over 40 hours of it that they didn't use for the entire rest of the next year. But then if they didn't use, so their bank's only 40 hours and they accrued 80 hours. So then at the end of the year, if they had an excess, they could only still carry over 40 hours the next year. So they would still lose all that extra vacation time that they didn't utilize throughout the year. So
That-
there was no banking, just that carryover part.
Right, we won't let them bank. We're just giving them 3 extra months to use stuff from the previous year. And this first year, of course, because there's not enough reaction time and everything like that, we would want everybody to use, if we're going to give anybody 3 months, we're going to give them the opportunity to use whatever time they have left this year before March. But in March, they'll be cut off, and then they will only have accrued. So I don't mind going back, and if we need to limit it, cut it in half or whatever for carryover, but I think that limits our flexibility right now. We have plenty of people who have given up a lot of vacation time and opportunity times to use theirs because we're short-staffed for police and the public works have those things that I think that as long as our department heads can schedule them, I think that they can make it work for up to their complete time. I think they'll use some throughout the year, and then those 3 months, they shouldn't save all 80 hours for those 3 months. But if they did, that would have to be managed, and they'd be lost on March the 31st.
And we also wouldn't want them to use all 80 hours the first 2 months of the year either, and then
Nope.
not have anything for the rest of the year. So it's kind of a juggle there on how to manage that, or how to, you know.
Right. But it comes down to giving them 3 more months. That's what the end result of all of this is you get 3 more months. Because the people who save up hours, say in 2022, didn't use all of their 80 hours. They only got 40 hours of leave this year. That's not very much for a whole year. So you want to give them a chance to rest and recuperate and get your morale up and all that stuff. So I think that it's valuable to let them get what they earned, and so we'll give them 3 more months.
So were you recommending a percentage of the
Well, that's kind of what I
carryover,
thought.
or are you just saying whatever? Because right now, it's whatever they have remaining is what they're carrying over for those 3 months. So, I mean,
And they can use all 80 hours within them 3 months.
if they have them saved.
If their department heads let
I
them,
understand,
yeah.
if they have it.
It seems like that's a little bit more employee beneficial to give them the full amount for those 3 months instead of just cutting it into by a percentage, but I don't know what you were thinking.
Well, I was kind of thinking that they would be able to carry over, save some of their vacation and not use it for that year, and then carry it over to the next year and use that amount.
So you're saying that they'd have that 40 hours for the entire year instead of just.
Right, and
3
just
months.
for that. just
The
for that
percentage
3
of
months.
it for the
Yeah,
whole
the
year.
percentage,
instead of
exactly.
Just the 3
But
months.
if they didn't
And
use
then at the
it,
end of the year, the most you could carry over would be a percentage of your vacation time that you would earn, just so they'd have a buffer zone in the first 5-6 months of the year. Because let's face it, if you're only accruing 3 days in 3 or 4 months, then what's that really gonna benefit you? And what if you've had to use all your vacation time? I mean, this first year is gonna be critical because we were under the use it or lose it. So a lot of people used it all up, and now we're sitting here
And we had had that discussion,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was back in 2012, because at that time, it was carrying it over, if I remember right, we were able to carry over for quite a while. And John Sutherland, and our accountant, was noticing that all these vacation days were piling up. And on the books, that's actually a liability, because we still owe that money. So if we go and carry it past the 3 months, we could do it, carry it over for 3 years if we want to. But that's debt that we're gonna incur as a city, and we have to put on the books as a debt, because we have to owe that and pay that. So the intent was, at that time, was to limit it to where we don't, we're trying to get our employees to utilize it. It's a benefit that we've granted, but at the same token, if we let it draw out too long, then it becomes a liability, and it's not supposed to be a liability to the city. It's supposed to be a benefit for the staffing. So there's kind of a fine line there on how to manage it, and
We went
it
through
seems
that.
like that's what you're trying to do, is make it to where it's a benefit for the both sides, but there has to be some kind of a cutoff at some point, because we just can't.
We went
carry
through
it.
this
I mean,
process, and we did, one reason why the 2 free days are going to be able to help out, for instance, if you wanted to take spring break and go skiing or something, whatever it is, that those 2 free days would, plus what you could accrue, even the newest guys will have 4.5. And
So a new employee, January 1st,
Mm-hmm.
by spring break in April, would have
4.5
2
days.
days,
4.5 if you count the 2 free days that we're going
2
to
free days.
Even if you had 0 on December 31st, you would have 4.5 days. And we will, that's what I was talking about when I said I would work with.
So primarily, the thing is that they can plan on saving or banking.
2 or 3 days.
You know,
for-
I mean, so you, like, right now,
Mm-hmm.
we're putting it into effect for those who have it, come
Mm-hmm.
next year, they're still gonna be able to use it up to 3 months.
That's right.
And so next year, if they're gonna plan on doing something or hope to do something,
In-
save a couple
in
days.
February or
to
March,
Carry
save a
over,
couple days.
and they're gonna be able to have plus those 2 extra days,
Mm-hmm.
plus any days accrued, and so it's just gonna take a little bit of planning on their part if they're anticipating that they're gonna take longer vacation in the first 3 months.
And give them 3 more months of flexibility to be able to use it. So,
So a new employee could technically have
if they have 4.5
4 and a half
days,
days
yep,
by May,
by the end of March.
by the end of March. Okay, and then any other employee could carry over what they have, whether it's 5 days or 1 day,
Mm-hmm.
and just add to that 4.5 days in March, right?
In March, once.
By the end of March.
Yeah, once March comes, you go back to 0 carryover, and you've started accruing as well. So when people take leave between January and the end of March, they're going to have an extra option of use carryover leave or accrued leave.
Okay, all right, just making sure I understood.
Well, I was just reminded, 90 days before you can actually use leave. Sick time, sick leave you can use, but they
For a
have to
new
be here
employee.
for a brand-new
There's
employee.
a waiting period there because you need to get
Well,
it established before they.
So
Okay.
if a new employee started in October or November, then you're in that gray area that once they could start using it. So that's why I said I would work with somebody who needed 1/2 of 1 day
They
to.
could carry over
Yeah,
that, whatever
they-
they accrued.
Okay,
That's
the
correct.
90
all right.
days.
Okay, so spring break is when? Because I don't pay attention to that. That's my
April.
wife's job.
April-ish, March,
Second or third week of March.
Second week of March.
Yep.
March,
Is when spring break is in Lamar.
okay.
So you'll have about 5 pay periods before then.
And you're eligible for whatever you carry over, so you have that option during the March time frame.
Okay,
And I said, this is a transition year. No, you might have an annual, you do your family reunion every January. And this year, you were planning on getting it granted, up until, August, whenever we said we were going to do this. I will make sure that somebody who has 0 has a way of taking their family reunion if it was in January. So I will not let somebody who is subject to, me, I will make sure that they do not miss that first week of January if that's what they're planning. They can come to me, and once they have standing and they actually put in for leave, I will make sure that they won't get.
okay. All right, any other council questions or comments or discussion questions? Anne Marie?
I'm good.
Daniel, you good? Mike?
I'm good.
Jerry?
Okay.
Mike?
I have something that I'd like to say, but I think it's gonna make a lot of people in this community happy. I think I'll wait.
That's why we're here,
Joe?
Mike. If you have something you want to say, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
So, I don't know of any business, maybe all municipalities do this, I don't know, since I'm new. But I don't know of any business that when you start your employment there, in your first year, you get 2 weeks paid vacation. Granted, accrued or anything else. But I do know of private sector businesses that their pay is a lot higher. It seems like we pay, the municipality pays a boatload of money to vacation time, which if that vacation time was turned around into wages instead of vacation time,
So what are you suggesting? I guess
I don't know.
Cutting down their
Can you-
vacation or?
you're suggesting cutting down vacation and switching it?
I don't know what to do.
I guess I was asking for clarification on your statement.
I mean,
Well, Mike, I can help out a little bit if you.
so I'm just looking at, we get 11 paid holidays, right?
Yep.
Or 9 plus 2 extra days, right? And then we get 14 days of sick leave. And then, or 80 hours of sick leave, and then 80 hours of vacation time, right?
Mhm.
So that's 100 and, or that's 11 days, 25 days, and 10 days, that's 35 days.
Yep.
I will just let you know that big salary study that we just paid for, that they did with the external and comparing us to all the other cities that are, population and size-wise and everything. We were very comparable. We were behind in a couple of them, including number of vacation days was one of them. We needed to add another one. That's one reason why we added it. So I believe that the salary study said this brings us more in line what we're trying to do right here
With other
with
municipalities,
other municipalities.
like city to city, not
City to
city
city.
to private
City
sector
to private
employees.
sector is totally different. And we don't, in this way it goes, we're not going to be granting all this stuff for somebody who may not make his transition period, may not be here. We're not giving them all their leave up front and then didn't have to pay them when they take off. So this is a way for people to get what they're.
And that's why we hired this
Yep.
contractor to come in and do the salary survey statewide comparison. And in that salary survey, they compared benefits and what we were offering our employees as benefits to make sure that we were being competitive with other communities our same size, same or similar sizes. So if you compare what the city employees get to the outside, yeah, it's a big difference. But when you're comparing a municipality to municipality and something that's similar in size, we're right there where we need to be. And we paid that company to come in to show us that and prove
Well, I
it.
think we try hard to do good benefits. We have good insurance. We pay a big portion of that to try to make up for some of that. And we do have a generous leave package, and we do have the short-term and long-term. So I think we do very well with our benefits. They average out sometimes about 41% of their salary. So
And I don't know if I know of any outside non-municipality employer that pays for long-term and short-term disability.
well, a
as
lot of
paid
times they don't
benefit.
even pay your
It's not.
insurance.
Yeah, they don't pay your
Or they don't
insurance.
have insurance, whatever.
So a lot of what we do for the employees is benefits, and even though our salaries are lower, they're getting a lot of the external benefits that wouldn't get in the private sector. So, they're getting a little extra vacation, they're getting a little bit of the other items, but, it's kind of a balancing act to try to stay competitive with other municipalities so we don't lose them to another municipality. But we're not here today to,
Oh, no, I just wanted to get this out there because this is the whole reason behind the question. For all the city employees out there that want to go out and blow up my vehicle or knock my tires, okay? It was not for me to cut down vacation time or any benefits for city employees. The reason why is I've been inundated with several phone calls from private sector personnel asking me, why are we paying 60, 70 days a year for employees to be off work?
Right.
So I tried to explain to them that in my profession that I used to have, let's say I make 60, anywhere between 40 and $60 an hour as a mechanic, where the city mechanics don't make no 40 to $60 an hour, by no means. So that's compensated by their benefits.
Right.
Correct.
And so basically I wanted this in the public eye, not for the city employees, but for the taxpayers to understand why our city employees get so much time off and the benefits they get.
And it goes the same with private sector. I mean,
Right.
$60 an hour on your salary working as a mechanic. If you were a self-employed person, you'd get 100% of that. But you'd have to pay your own benefits, your own insurance, your own vacation, all of that you'd pay for yourself. As an employee, you might only get 30% of that, or $30 an hour, because the rest of it goes to benefits.
So no,
So,
I was actually making $60 an hour.
well, what I'm saying is,
And
you may be
wages.
charging 150, but I'm saying as the
Yeah.
employee, the employer's taking a cut off the top, they're taking out the taxes, they're taking out your benefits. So when it comes to the city, it's very similar, where
Right.
it's just a way of balancing to make it competitive, so.
So I just want to make it clear, it wasn't me trying to cut out our employees. I wanted the taxpayers to know out there that are watching this.
That we're trying to be, yeah, and we have, and that's why we did the survey. Joe, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I mean, after reading the benefit package, I thought the city offered some outstanding benefits.
Yeah.
And on top of the pay scale salary, I think, the city has done exceptionally well. I know, like Rob mentioned, we're not gonna make everybody happy, I'm sorry that we can't, but I think the city has done what we can.
Okay. All right, so now that we went through the council, and was there anybody else wanted to add anything? Are we good? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution number 22-11-04. Any final discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Oh, I thought I did mine.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay. So we'll move on to the miscellaneous items for business. There was one item that I brought in tonight. I was approached by, or I received an email from Jay Brooks, who is working with behavioral health and starting a new integrated medical practice here in Lamar, Colorado. They are applying for a community investment grant, and they've asked if we would be willing to do a letter of support for their grant application. So Anne Marie was working on, they did send me a suggested letter, and Rob had written that out, and I handed it out to everybody here to look at. This was their suggestions. However, Anne Marie has graciously went through and made some changes to correct it. What I would need is just the okay whether or not we want to provide a letter of support for them to do this application, so they can submit it with their grant, saying that we support their application to apply.
I think it'd be a great idea.
I would agree. I think.
Does she have
I
her,
think it's something that's-
does she have her changes already made, so we can just read that off, and then you can just sign that letter, what she says, and we don't have to beat this
Oh,
up again?
it's a letter of support, so I don't think we have to, just, you
Well-
can approve.
You want to have it with the council as well, or just, because that one looks like it's
Then we
just.
could do it as a council, or we could do it as the mayor. That would, so I guess there's two questions there. One is, do we want to do letter of support? And if so, do you want it as the whole council, or is just as the mayor? I felt like it would be best if we did it as a whole council, myself.
I agree with you
I
on
would
that.
agree with the whole council.
Power and numbers.
I could have written one just without, as the mayor, if it was just me putting my neck on the line, but I think this is something that would be better as a whole council. So,
I think for what little information that I know, just seeing additional behavior health, I think this community has some problems and we need to kind of do what we can to bring things around. So I think a letter of support would definitely be in the offering.
And basically, the letter is stating, it's my understanding that Wade Hudson, Dr. DO, Integrated Medical Practice is applying for funding from the Senate Bill 22-196, House Bill 22-1281, Community Investment Grant Program. Prowers County is in need of behavioral health resources. We support this practice efforts, and to add these resources to our community, there are significant challenges to our population, and, we're in support of their application, basically, is what we're, is that good in a nutshell of what we're putting in the letter?
Yes.
Okay. So that's all we're stating, is that we're in support of their application. So can we get a motion to approve that for the council to support?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments?
Vote.
Seeing none, all those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay. All right, are there any other miscellaneous items that we need to discuss?
One last thing.
Okay,
If you could, each one of the council members could get back with me individually and tell me your preference for a phone and a tablet so we can stop killing so many trees. I would like you guys to tell me, I know you, everybody who wants a phone or a tablet, please come to me and we will make sure that we stop killing trees, okay? So individually.
Killing trees doesn't bother me. It's the extensive man hours we're
Well,
using to print all this
that's
out.
another benefit, but I want to pay less on both of them. So you guys can come talk to me and give me, iPhone or Android based, and then a tablet can be an iPad or,
so you're talking about providing
Yeah.
one?
yes, I'm gonna, we got a place out of the budget. We're gonna get these.
Okay. All right. All right.
That's it.
Okay.
I've got one thing.
Yes.
Just for a note of information, it came to my attention, every 2 months, there's a blood drive here at Lamar. And tomorrow is the last blood drive at Lamar Christian Church for 2022. There's a real need for blood. So if anybody's able to, I would suggest make an appointment, get over there. I think it's between 11 and 4:30 tomorrow. But there is a real need for blood right now.
Do it before Wednesday or it'll be ice.
Yeah.
Okay, so the donation is tomorrow, or you need to make the appointment tomorrow?
Well, the drive is tomorrow at Lamar Christian Church,
Thank you.
between 11 and 4:30. And it was brought to my attention, there is a real need for blood to build up in the blood bank.
Okay. All right. Any other last comments?
I have a question for the chief. So, every morning I used to give a certain individual in this community a breakfast sandwich in the morning. Because I work next to Loaf and Jug, I think you know who I'm referring to, was involved in an accident. Is this person gonna come back to the community? Because I've been saving my money and I need to know if he's gonna be back so I can continue my,
It'll be a while.
okay.
All right. Okay. With that said, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
And I would just like to wish everybody in the community a Merry Christmas and be safe.
And that's what I was going to say too. Thank you all for joining us tonight for the last council meeting of the year, and we look forward to seeing you next year.